What's up, fight fans? Today we're making predictions for UFC Fight Night, Edgar versus Munhoz. So let's hop right in. First off, we have Timur Valiev versus Mark Striegel. It's both of these men's UFC debut. Looking at their record, Timur has beat legit people with decent records. Where Striegel, he has a lot of submissions, but a lot of the people he's fought have losing records. Um, so going off that, since I haven't seen them fight before, I got to go with Valiev by decision, just from fighting better people. Next up, we got Carl Minus versus Matthew Semmelsberg. Both of these guys are also making their UFC debut. Minus has fought some good people. He lost to Rick Story, and he beat Justin Buckles, who are two people who fought in the UFC. Whereas Semmelsberg, I didn't really see many names on his record. He's got good wins, a lot of KO. But for this one, I got to go with Carlton Minus by KO. Up next, we got Ike Villanueva versus short notice opponent Jordan Wright. Villanueva 16-10, Jordan Wright 10-0. Tough one to call. Villanueva was supposed to fight George Gonzalez. I was ready to pick Gonzalez by KO. I think Ike is pretty old in his career. He's 36. Closer to a 50-50 fighter. Jordan Wright, he's 28 years old, 10-0. He hasn't beat the best guys, and he just got knocked out in the Contender Series, where his opponent failed the drug test for marijuana. So I'd say he got beat pretty fair and square. No steroids there. So he's coming off of a knockout in the Contender Series, and he got one win after that in another league. This is a tough fight to call, considering Wright's coming in on short notice. We don't know what kind of shape he's in. Is the weight cut going to affect him? But like I said, I think Villanueva sort of on the end of his career here. And Jordan Wright has extremely explosive movements, good kicks. He can fight from a distance. So in this fight, I'm going to go Wright, the short notice fighter, winning by KO. Up next, another short notice fight, Dwight Grant versus his opponent, Callan Bourne. Again, Callan Bourne is coming into this fight short notice. He's 7-1. Dwight Grant is 10-2. I haven't seen much stuff from Callan Bourne. He hasn't beat many good opponents either. 7-1, but a lot of them were versus buckets. The one fight he lost was against a legit opponent. Grant's beat much better people. You got Bourne making his UFC debut, fighting on short notice. I think this one is going to be Dwight Grant winning by KO. Next up, we have Austin Hubbard versus Joe Solecki. I think this is going to be the best fight on the prelims. Both these guys are really good, really exciting fighters to watch. Let's break it down. Austin Hubbard is really good all-around fighter. He has good knees, and he has really good submission defense, which we saw when he fought Marco Madsen and Mark Rothkopf. He made Rothkopf quit in the corner. The media wrote a lot about it, talking about Rothkopf, but really Hubbard just didn't let him get takedowns, and when he went for submissions, defended the submissions beautifully and didn't get caught. Joe Solecki, on the other hand, he's really more of a wrestler, grappler type person. Once he gets someone on the ground, he controls them, does not let them get back up. In his fight against Matt Wyman, he just took him down and Wyman could not get back up, and that's kind of been the story for all of Solecki's fights. He's undefeated in the UFC. He was on the Contender Series, and he had one fight after that. So, taking everything into consideration, I think Austin Hubbard is more of a striker. Joe Solecki's more of a grappler, and in this case, I favor the grappler. I think Solecki's going to get the takedowns he needs, control Hubbard, but won't be able to get any submissions. I think Solecki's going to get this one by decision. After Hubbard versus Solecki, we have Amanda Lemos versus Mizuki Inoue. Amanda Lemos 7-1, Mizuki Inoue 14-5. This was a tough fight to pick. Both of these women have skill set is close. Lemos has great leg kicks. She likes to work against the cage and get her trips there and get some takedowns. She has fast hands, but in her last fight versus Leslie Smith, she gassed out after 1.5 rounds. She was destroying Leslie Smith, landing all her punches. Leslie Smith just toughed it out and pushed a very fast pace, and Lemos just gassed out, and Smith beat her up, just threw more punches, and Lemos couldn't do anything about it because she was exhausted. Inoue, she's more of a karate striker. She likes clinch strikes, clinch up, throw with the knees, but she's not very fast-paced in her fights. In her last fight, she fought at the weight class above against Yanan Wu. She got the decision win, but again, the pace wasn't super fast. She had trouble finding her range and her distance, and she just didn't look like a complete striker in that fight. Inoue only has one UFC fight. I believe Lemos does as well, only has one. Oh no, she actually has two. She's coming off a win versus Miranda Granger. Again, this was a tough fight to call. But I think Inoue is kind of young in the sport. She's still trying to find her style. I think Lemos actually looks a little bit better and is going to be more aggressive and sort of make it a dogfight. So that's what I think is going to happen, and I think Lemos is going to come out winning this fight by decision. Lemos by decision. Moving on to the main card, we got Daniel Rodriguez versus Takashi Sato. This is going to be a great fight. Both these guys like to stand. Rodriguez working with Eddie Bravo at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, but has a lot of knockouts on his record. He has precise striking. Both these guys seem to fight on the back foot. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Who's going to push the action? Rodriguez likes to throw more combos, and Sato has a more karate style, bouncing in and out. And his best weapon is his left straight. He bounces out, baits the opponent in, and then knocks them out with his left straight. He's done it to a few opponents now. And both are southpaw fighters, which is always a little tricky. Most of the time, southpaw fighters will train with orthodox fighters just because most fighters are orthodox. So we'll see if they're able to get some good training partners to mimic the southpaw style. I'm definitely worried about Sato's left straight. I think Sato can knock Rodriguez out with that straight if he catches him in the first or second round. But I think that as long as Daniel Rodriguez doesn't overcommit to his punches, sort of keeps everything tight, and just doesn't fall for that bait, I think he can get the win. I got Rodriguez by decision. Next up, Maria Agapova versus Shanna Dobson. Big favorite for Agapova. She's minus 1,200. Shanna Dobson's plus 750. And that makes sense. The records speak for themselves. Maria Agapova 9-1. Shanna Dobson 3-4. Agapova She's coming off a submission win in the UFC, a TKO win, and a submission win before that in Invicta. So she's on a roll. She's on a streak. Shanna Dobson, she's been in the UFC, but she's lost all 3 of her fights in the UFC. She's coming off, I believe, a KO loss. Let's double check. Yep, lost a KO to Priscilla Cachoeira. I don't know who she is. So, gotta go to Maria Agapova. The tricky thing is, how will she finish her? She has a lot of KOs and submissions. I believe UFC gave Dobson this fight so that they can just drop her when she loses. I think Agapova is going to hurt her. Dobson might drop down for a takedown, and that's when Agapova might get a choke or something. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Agapova by submission. Following that fight, we have Marcin Prachnio versus Mike Rodriguez. I don't know why this fight's on the main card, to be honest. Both of these guys are coming off 2 losses. Prachnio getting knocked out in both of his last 2 losses. So he's 0 for 2 in the UFC. Looking at his fights, it just looks like he doesn't commit to his punches. He comes in looking kind of wild and like an angry person, but once the fight starts, he sort of comes in and just doesn't throw punches, and he ends up getting caught because of that. You can't come into punching range and not throw anything and expect to come out safe. On the other hand, Mike Rodriguez, he sort of has a weird style, and he also starts off pretty slow. The only thing that makes me lean towards Rodriguez in this fight is that he has a huge reach advantage. He's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage in this fight, and both of these guys like to keep it standing. I think whoever loses this fight is going to get cut. I don't know why they're right before the co-main event. These 2 guys should be on the prelims. But choosing who I think is going to win, I got to go Mike Rodriguez by KO. Up next, we got Ovince St. Preux versus Alonzo Menifield. This is going to be one hell of a fight. I think both guys are going to come out, and Menifield is going to be the one pushing the action here. Ovince St. Preux, 2-4 in his last 6 fights. He's going to want to win here. He's on the verge of maybe getting knocked out of the UFC. Menifield, he likes to work against the cage, and he likes to sort of get some push away, get some distance, and land big over right hands, or just throw big hooks, big power shots, and try to knock their opponent out. Menifield, the big thing that concerns me about him is he only has about 1 round where he can really do damage and really take his opponent out of the fight. We saw that versus last opponent, Devin Clark. He had him hurt really bad in the first round, hit him with a big uppercut, but Clark was able to survive, and then Menifield had nothing for him for the next 2 rounds and lost by decision. OSP's last fight was at heavyweight versus Ben Rothwell. He didn't look good in that fight. He kept moving back. He didn't push in the action. He didn't throw many strikes. And Ben Rothwell sort of just walked him down and was able to get a decision win, but there wasn't much done on OSP's side to try to win that fight, I feel like. This fight is going to be light heavyweight, so OSP, 37 years old. I think he moved up because he was having trouble making weight. He lost the fight. Now he has to go back down. I think the weight cut's going to be really hard for him this time. He weighed in at 240 pounds with Ben Rothwell. That means he has to lose 35 pounds. He fought Rothwell on May 13th, so in about 4 or 5 months he's going to have to lose that weight. And the biggest tell for this fight I can see watching both of these men fight, OSP has this bad habit of moving straight back and sort of getting stuck against the cage before he really starts to circle outward. I think that's going to cost him the fight. I think Manyfield is going to be able to push him up against that cage, get the distance he wants, and just land a big overhand or something. I think the knockout's going to be very similar to how Jimmy Manuwa knocked out OSP up against the cage with a big overhand. So we'll see how this plays out. I believe if OSP can get past the first round, then he will win the fight. But I'm going to have to call this one Manyfield by first round knockout. After that fight, we have the main event of the evening, Frankie Edgar versus Pedro Munhoz. It's not the easiest fight to call either. Frankie Edgar being a former UFC champion. 2 fights ago, he fought Max Holloway for the featherweight championship of the world. And after that, he fought Chan Sung Jun, the Korean zombie, and he got KO'd in round 1. Looking at the zombie fight, Edgar looked very different from the Holloway fight. He looked a lot slower. And it just didn't look like the regular Frankie Edgar we're used to. He's getting up there in age. He's 38 years old, closer to 39 now. And I don't think he has much longer in his career. I think he's slowing down a lot. I don't know how you keep your motivation up after you lose to Max Holloway in the championship fight. At this point, there's no more championship fights for Frankie Edgar. And most importantly to note, in this fight, Frankie Edgar is moving down to the 135-pound division. Munhoz, he's a natural bantamweight. But Edgar, at 38 years old, trying to cut that extra weight, I really think it's going to take a toll on him. And it's going to take a toll on his chin. And Munhoz is known for just landing big knockout shots. He knocked out Cody Garbrandt. Pedro Munhoz, in his last fight, he lost to Aljamain Sterling. But in my opinion, Aljamain Sterling just had way more speed than him. Munhoz was never able to get his timing, never found his range, and couldn't really land any big shots. Edgar, I think, is going to be much slower, and I think Munhoz is going to be able to connect with him, even though Frankie has a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. Munhoz has never been stopped. His losses has always come from decision. And taking all these factors in, I think I'm going to go with Munhoz by submission. I think Munhoz is going to be able to hurt Frankie. Frankie's going to go for a takedown, and Munhoz is going to get one of his patented guillotine chokes on Frankie Edgar. Munhoz by decision. All right, those are my picks for the fight. I'll be watching them on Saturday, and I'll see you next time.